After being in this thing for as long as I have, you fall in love with the stories, with the relationships with the people. So, like people like Carmelo Anthony, who was great people to talk to. People like Chris Paul. Like there are so many different layers of the NBA that people don't understand. And yeah, everyone looks at the TV and the ratings and the entertainment, but when you peel back those layers, everything boils down to relationships.
We are back. We are back. We are back with another episode of From the Script, a platform for my authors, my scribers, my TV, film, and songwriters, where they're able to peel back the letters of their stories and take us on the journey of their writing process and so much more. I am your host, Armourie, and baby, okay, we have a treat for you today. Let me run it back. I said we have a treat for you today, just to give you a little hint, okay? Oh my gosh, talk about a powerhouse. Talk about someone who is a regional writer for the NBA. Can I say it again? A regional writer for the NBA, you guys. He has also worked previously with ESPN Houston, USA Today, Bleach Report, Medium. Does the list go on? I think it does. So please, without further ado, please help me welcome the one, the only, K.O.K. How are you?
Thank you. That's a hell of an intro. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. This is a great studio. This is a great atmosphere, so I'm proud.
I'm glad. I'm happy to have you here as well. It's been fire. Shout out to Van for even making the connection. Man, so we got to give the people what they want. Okay, let's run it back. Let's peel back some layers. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you came to be about in this season and just this everything that you're doing.
Everyone's journalism story is different because journalism to me is like an inorganic thing where you can just enter in from any space. But for me, it started in college where I was in actually a career building class where they were trying to figure out what we were trying to do after school. So at the time I was thinking between economics or pre-law, like just everything was going through my head. So we were in these groups and our task was to write down our interests, pass them to someone else, and they would give us feedback of maybe possible ideas for careers, right? So I wrote down, sports. I wrote down like numbers, storytelling, things I like to do. And this girl, she read it and she was like, "Have you ever considered sports journalism?" And at the time, this is like 2012, 13, like 14. So I'm not thinking that this is something that's actually viable, because I didn't think that it was an industry for us. I thought it was an industry that it wasn't very successful. It was kind of hard to break into, so I wasn't really sure. But she was like, "No, I think you should actually consider it. If that's what you like to do, if you like sports like this, if you like numbers, if you like telling stories, there's a way to weave all these things together." So I went back home that day. I looked up some blogs. I tried to see, they were all free blogs to try and get my way into the door because I could write, but my only experience was writing was like short stories back in the day and like things here and there, stuff like that. So I had never actually written a full article, right? So I applied. I got the gig. They gave me a trial shot to just write a few recaps here and there, and I was getting my feet under the door. And then soon enough, over the summer, I found an internship with ESPN Houston.
Come on.
And funny enough, they actually wanted me to come and be like a radio intern, but I didn't want to do that because the way I thought about it, if you have all these radio interns every summer, how many of these guys are actually getting jobs after the summer, down the line? So I asked them, could I do something different? Could I write? Could I contribute to your social media team? And they was like, okay, I've never heard that before, but yeah, let's give it a shot. So they brought me in, I started doing like podcast recaps of the shows, the little segments, and then I was still writing on my own on the side, still helping with their website, and I just built that up, and then I guess the breaking in point was there was an event at the Rockets facility one day, and for some reason, no one was at the office that day. It was just me and my boss. So he asked me if I wanted to go cover the event, and I'm thinking like, hell yeah, I want to go cover the event.
Right?
This is like a dream come true. Like there was no one in the office that day, so he gave me a list of things to do, and at the time I think I had about maybe like 400 followers on Twitter, right? Wow. So I went to the event, I covered it, did like the little thing on like for online presence, the live thing for Facebook, and he liked it. So they kept sending me to more and more events. At the end of the summer, I'm still going back to UT because I was in Austin. I was going back to Austin. So this was around the time when NBA teams are asking for credentials, like to apply for credentials if you want to cover for the season. Now, granted, I didn't have any experience, so I didn't expect to get a credential. But they told my job that if there was ever space for a game, I could come down and cover the game. Now, granted, this is in Houston. I'm still in Austin, so what I would do was I would be in Austin. I would be in class, and then if class ends at like around 2 or 3, I drive down to Houston to go cover the game.
Talk about the dedication.
I would go cover the game, and I'm being put in a seat above nosebleeds. It's above nosebleeds, so you can't really see anything, but like there's a monitor you can see, and you're in the building. So I would be there. I would cover the game. I would work, try and build those relationships up, and then drive back to Austin sometimes that same night, getting back at like 3 a.m. So it was like a really long process, but I wanted it so bad that I was going to give up whatever for it. So I just kept putting the time and the hours in, and then that just paid off. It just paid off.
Wow. Talk about it paying off.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is so deep because you said something earlier that I related to when we were going to college. I first started off with criminal justice because I honestly had no idea that there was even a field for mass communications, for us to learn about cameras, for us to learn about writing for television, writing for just any digital form of media, and to just hear how you started off in like that career building class is just amazing, and just to see how somebody can like just help ignite that flame. And I love also how you mentioned that when you went to the radio station, you presented something new.
Yeah.
And I knew that resonated with them even more, and I felt like that was just good to be able to incorporate that. Yeah. So that's fire. Yeah.
Because if you think about like, there's so many people that come through those industries and they just go in for a season and they leave, and there's no longevity because it's such an easily replaceable position. Just helping,
facts,
in the radio room. So I thought if I brought something new to the table, even if they didn't like want to do it or they didn't understand it, they were at least going to hear me out and see that, okay, this guy's not like X, Y, and Z that have come through the building before. So that's how I looked at it.
I love that. So you're coming up on, I think either if you're not coming up, you're currently in your 8th season already of being a writer. Yeah. And we just got word, you guys, that we have somebody who just got a promotion. Yeah. So please expound on that. Let us know what has elevated.
So for a long time in my journalism career, I was just covering, the Houston Rockets, and that was my only gig. But recently, the nature of my job shifted. So now, instead of just covering the Rockets, my role has expanded to kind of a big part of the Southwest Division. So now I'm a regional reporter covering the Spurs, the Grizzlies, the Rockets. If they need me to go to Indiana, I'll go. Like I'm pretty much a bigger scope of my writing is going to be accessible. So it's been great. It's been great so far. It's been great.
Ooh, this is good. Yeah. This is good. Congratulations on the promotion. That's to be able to go from writing for the Houston Rockets, the Memphis Grizzlies, to the Spurs. Yeah. It's just that's like a dream come true. Yeah. Seriously. I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble if I ask this. Who's your favorite team to write for?
I don't have a favorite team. That's a good question. Okay. I actually don't. Because like with me, after being in this thing for as long as I have, you fall in love with the stories, with the relationships with the people. So, like people like Carmelo Anthony, who was, great people to talk to, people like Chris Paul. Like, there are so many different layers of the NBA that people don't understand. And yeah, everyone looks at, the TV and the ratings and the entertainment, but when you peel back those layers, everything boils down to relationships. And over the years, I've been able to foster those things out of, an organic ground layer, and then that's just what I enjoy. Like, just being able to see why John Morant is coming back and having a successful season, why someone like a Jalen Green is taking the next step to the next layer, why a Victor Wembanyama is going to be the next great thing. Like, there are stories to explore for everybody, and that's what I really appreciate about the NBA.
That's just honestly powerful. Like you mentioned, just taking someone's story and just crafting your own version of that story and putting it into words. I definitely want to ask, during your writing process, what does that look like?
I'm a procrastinator. I procrastinate a lot. For me, and everyone has their own little quirks. Like, my particular quirk is I can't write a feature until I, one, have the headline, and two, I have the lead photo. Because I'm a very visual person, so I need to be able to look at something, and then it helps me craft my lead. Because, as any story, you need the lead. That's going to dictate the flow of the whole story. So I like to go through the process of, like, figuring out which picture goes perfectly with the message I'm trying to convey, and then how that crafts the headline, which crafts the lead, and then it's a whole process. But for me, it's pretty unique because you have all these quotes, all these interviews from people, and the one thing I've learned through the process is you don't need to have every quote in your story. Like, you can cut out a bunch of things, you can craft it how you want, because it's your story at the end of the day.
Yeah. You
only use quotes to enhance your writing. It shouldn't, because it's your byline, it's not their byline.
Can you say it again for the people who need help with that?
It's your story. It's your byline. So you tell it how you want to do it, and use the quotes when appropriate. So for me, I take that very seriously in terms of just trying to figure out the theme of my story, because I like to have a personal connection, like a human aspect to a story. It just helps you, like, the flow of the writing, because people procrastinate. They get writer's block, and you want to come down and come back to it later. But for me, I just try to, the day I figure out that, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm not procrastinating anymore. I'm just going to go, and then you have some music in the background, and then you just type.
This episode of From the Script is brought to you by the Creators Guild HTX. Please be sure to tap in with them. They are the one-stop shop for podcasting, production, and so much more. If you are looking to book your next session, please visit theguildhtx.com and just tap in with them. You never know what visions you're able to bring to life with them. So let's get it. I love that because I can attest to me being a procrastinator too. Like, I am honestly working on that. I'm working on it for real. Ooh, so this is interesting. So to know that you work through procrastination, but you of course produce diamonds. I've literally seen you live in action at Summer League, and I see the type of deadline that y'all have. Yeah. How is it working under that pressure? Like, and y'all just in your own room and everything just going. How is that?
So the good thing about where I work is that the typical hard deadline is not like the same as a newspaper, where it's like you have more of liberty. Now, granted, sometimes you got to get this thing done now. So it's like at Summer League, when there's a time crunch, you have to get it done because you're on a different time zone. People typically read things 6, 7 in the morning. So if you're 2 hours behind, you got to get that in early because your editors are probably going to go to bed soon. So that process can be pretty stressful sometimes. But what helps is if you plan out your things before you start writing. So like during the game, if you have like your notes and you have a theme of what you want to write, you can tell pretty early on what kind of story you want to write, or have at least some kind of idea. So as the game is going on, you're putting things that are going to craft your story and just have things in place so you're not just trying to rush after the game trying to put something together. So it helps to have a plan, before you already, see what the game's going to happen, because, writing can get really tricky. Like if you are stuck and you have a deadline, that pressure is real. That mental stress is real. So
Facts.
to help alleviate that, it helps to have some kind of guide to help you.
Have there been any, like, I don't want to say, I feel like somebody's auntie when I say any boo-boos, but like any like mishaps while you've like experienced just when it comes to writing and like having to meet that deadline, and how were you able to just surpass those?
So if I think back, so like for example, we had this project that we were doing, an NBA 100 project where we were trying to rank the top 100 NBA players in NBA history, right, for this big book that we were doing. So people, all the notes that they were giving us in Slack and everything was, okay, hey, we need this in by this day, we need this in now, we need this in tomorrow. And you forget, you put things off to the side, you think, okay, I'm gonna get to it later. Pretty soon that day is here.
Facts.
So editors are blowing up your phone like, where is this? We need this. So you have to actually get to it. So that can get pretty hectic the day of, the day before. But it helps to just have, I go back to what I said before, the plan. So even though you have procrastinated up until this point, if you have some kind of guide, some kind of like structure to follow off of, you're not trying to rack your brain figuring out how to put together 1,500 words in 2 hours. Right?
Facts.
Just, that time can go just like that.
Literally in a blink of an eye.
Yeah. So, it just helps to just be able to take things, at your pace, obviously, but you also have to keep in mind you're not the only person that this thing has to affect. Like you have your editors, you have the copy editors, you have the guys that have to back read it. There's a whole process to putting out a story.
Yeah. So
you can't just think selfishly and think, okay, I don't feel like doing this today. I'm doing this, later. There's a whole process that has to go into place before a story comes out.
That's true.
So you have to work together.
Working together is powerful. Powerful. Now, I briefly mentioned that you worked with USA Today, ESPN Houston.
Yeah.
I told y'all the list goes on. Please let us know what other platforms that you've worked with and you've just have been able to be successful with.
So I've worked with Vice. I've worked with, like you said, Bleacher Report. I've worked with Fox Sports. I've worked with, wow, there's a lot.
The list is long.
Well, obviously The Athletic, New York Times. I've done anything for Yahoo. I'm trying to think about Yahoo.
Look, let me get my list because I was doing my research.
I think I've done something for them before. I'm trying to figure it out, but yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I've done things for other like blogs, like Red Nation, just
Salt Lake Tribune,
fan-sided. Like I've done a lot. So like like I said, the journey will take you to a lot of places because as a writer trying to come up in the industry, you have to be amenable to anything, and you have to also understand that, one, not everything will be paid work coming up. Obviously, it's harder now because, the economy is changing, but sometimes you have to actually put the work in to get that thing later. Right?
Facts.
So when I was coming up, I was working for free. Even the internship, it was for free. I wasn't getting paid anything. I was just driving my own gas, my own time, just in college, just trying to make things work. Having a goal down the line that says, okay, I'm going to sacrifice now to reap the benefits later. So that will take you to a lot of places, but you just have to have that goal in the back of your mind that says, this is going to work out one day and it's going to be beautiful. So that's why I just kept pushing forward and didn't care about, because I had a lot of no's. I've applied to when I had a lot of no's, had a lot of rejections. I still have all of them in my email somewhere, like all the, unfortunately, we can't accept you at this time. This wasn't a great fit, blah, blah, blah. And then when you come back to it, and you just, it's just crazy because people don't have the vision sometimes. They don't see the longer goal at hand. But as long as you have that inside within you, that should dictate how you move around your days.
I love that. And looking at the fruits of the labor, everything just unfolding now is just so deep.
Yeah.
Talking about the journey, has there been any ups and like downs, or what were the most pivotal moments during your journey that kind of helped craft your story?
So my first big like news breaking moment was a big one. And I remember, this is crazy. So what was this? A couple of years ago, probably like 2019, 2018, the Houston Rockets they had a center, Clint Capella, that was up for a contract extension.
Okay.
Or free agency, sorry. And they weren't sure if he was going to resign or not. And this is after my first full year, like, writing for them. So I'm in, but not all of it because people don't really know who I am. So I remember I got word. I was actually in the barber shop, and I got a text from somebody saying, you know, it was a source close to him telling me that he was going to resign. And at the time, if you remember, even now, like Woj, you know, Woj with ESPN, he's like he's regarded as one of the top, arguably the top newsbreaker, you know, him and Shams in the industry. So I got the text saying, hey, he's going to resign. So I put a tweet out, and 7 minutes later, Woj put a tweet out. But, you know, in the NBA, 7 minutes is a hell of a lot of time. So the fact that I got it first was crazy. And then Amin El Hassan on ESPN, shout out to my man Amin, he gave me a shout out on live TV.
Fire.
Like, while the news was being broken. So
Fire.
And it was crazy because his colleague was working. It was crazy. So like that moment was people, okay, who is this kid? Who is this guy? Now he's pretty interesting. I'm gonna pay attention to him. So that was big. That was my official news breaking entry into the industry. So from that point on, you know, everything you say, people are going to listen to because they know now you're respectable. Now you're reputable. You're not just blowing hot air. So I think that moment was my biggest entry point for sure.
I love that. That is powerful, powerful, powerful. Speaking of just, you know, what individuals listen to, what do you hope that your readers or anyone gain from
That's a good question.
every article?
That's a good question. My number one goal for anyone reading something I write is to either empathize or be informed, right? So typically, you know, there's different kinds of fans that like different kinds of things in terms of writing. There are the fans that like the analytics stuff, they like the numbers, they like the deep dives, they like the film breakdown, the X's and O's, they like all that. Then there are other people that like the stories of compassion, stories of courage, stories of, you know, someone that had to actually drive for something, like things that actually mean like the human emotions. So for me, it's always about trying to find that balance. I typically try to do that during the season, like trying to figure out, okay, is there a way to satisfy all parties at once, while at the same time sticking true to what I'm about. So I think for me, just trying to find that medium has been good. But I always want my readers to take away, you know, some kind of emotion that they felt something. I want you to feel like it's so easy to read something and go to the next thing because there's so many pieces of work out in the world. But when it comes to me and my readers, I want them to walk away with something that they can actually take to the next day and to the next day.
I love that. I love that, especially me being like someone who likes to read, working with articles and stuff. Everything that you just named is pivotal in what makes a good story and what makes a story that just can easily be swept under the rug. Like, ooh, that's deep. That's deep. So you have been killing the game. How does it feel when people are interviewing you? I believe I recently came across an interview. Please correct me if I'm wrong. It was with the Fox sports director and speaking about the Houston Rockets and certain projections. How does it feel being on the other side as people interview you?
It's still a thing I get used to because, like you said, I'm just used to holding the camera, holding the phone, the microphone, and having people talk to me. So when people flip it back on me, it's always appreciated for sure. But it's still sometimes I get kind of because it's still like a thing you get adjusted to. But after you've done it for so long, you know, it gets easier and easier. But it's a full circle. Like journalism is a two-sided street. So the same thing, you can interview somebody, they can interview you. And if you've been in the game long enough, people want to hear what you have to say. So when people, you know, I always appreciate it because it's a blessing for sure.
That is true. That is true. Are there any hidden cons?
Yeah, for a lot. There can be a lot.
Just drop a few.
So one of the cons is
I'm vanilla, baby. I'll choke you, but I ain't no killer, baby. She 28, telling me I'm still a baby. I get love in Detroit
like I wouldn't call them trolls, but you know
they be out there.
they're always out there. There's always going to be an online presence, and people that don't know, and it's hard because they tell you to like ignore it, but sometimes it's not the easiest.
They be getting personal.
They feel like they know you just because they see your work all the time. They don't actually know who you are. Like they just know what you do. And when people feel like they can judge you, and people will come in with preconceived notions or biases, and you don't agree with something that they hold near and dear to their heart, they're gonna attack you. And I've had to learn to deal with that and not like to overreact, because I used to be very reactionary. Like I don't like people trying to troll me or talk smack. And you have to learn how to be a professional, because we've seen too many times in this business when those lines are blurred and people forget their profession and they're just trying to, it can end pretty badly for the employer.
Facts.
So you have to learn how to do that. You also have to be okay with having tough skin. Some people don't like to be interviewed. Some players don't like to be they don't want to talk. They don't want to. And it has
give you the cold shoulder.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with you personally. They just don't want to. They don't either trust the media or they don't know you personally. So one thing that I've always prided myself on is being organic. So like being relatable. So like, for example, I give a story all the time. Whenever the Rockets when they had James Harden and Chris Paul, whenever I would go in the locker room, you would see, 20 reporters hovering around those two guys, right? I would go to the guy at the end of the locker room.
Wow.
And talk to him. Because, if you build that trust, if you build that bond, pretty sooner or later, those guys will see that, okay, this guy trusts this reporter, this guy. Maybe I should see what he's about. And it makes him more relatable, and then it helps you down the line, because you never know. The NBA is a fraternity. Like there's so many relationships that you wouldn't even know about in between the lines that can help you, or just by you talking to somebody that's like the 15th guy on the roster. So I've always made it a point to talk to those guys, because at the end of the day, they're still playing in the hardest league in the world. Like this is the highest level of basketball players in the world.
Yeah.
So just because he's a 10th or 11th man averaging 6 points doesn't mean he's a scrub at all.
At all.
These are all 1% athletes at the end of the day. So I've always told myself to make sure you talk to everybody. Everyone has something to say. And it's typically those guys that can tell you what's going on behind the scenes, that can help you in your work. So
Facts.
It behooves you to talk to those and have those bonds, have those open lines of communication with those kinds of people. So I've always prided myself on doing that.
That's so deep, especially how you connect with these players.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, like you said, you have so many different reporters, 20 reporters hovering over two people. And you even doing that, I bet that made their day, made them feel even more included. Because I know sometimes they may feel like, dang, nobody's paying attention to me. When am I going to get my big break? How can I tell my story? So being that you're doing that, it's like you were placed right where you need to be, because you're touching lives. Seriously. Look, you see me shaking my head. It's so much just really peeling back the layers of your story, and just understanding why you operate the way that you operate and how you do so, connecting with these players and just really just bringing out just powerful stories. So I'm just curious, like, can you elaborate on the importance of being vigilant, being locked in as a writer, and just quieting the chaos that's around?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the reason why it's so important to have that focus is that it's easy to lose it. Like during a game or during, it could be whatever. Like if you don't have a topic or a narrowed down thing of what you want to write about, your writing can get blurry. You can lose focus. It just becomes a big summary. And people don't want summaries. If you want a summary, you can go online, click up the score, you can find the summary.
Facts.
People want to read you because they know the style that you write. Typically, they know what you bring to the table. So having to find that narrowed down focus is super important. Like, for example, if you're trying to write about why, James Harden is struggling, there might be a deeper, darker reason, that something going through his life that he's, putting on the back burner, and why he's shooting 3 for 9 from the field. That's not just about, he missed the shot to the left, right? Yeah. So having that focus amidst the 48-minute game is super important, because you're able to pinpoint what matters and what doesn't. And sometimes people reading or consuming your content might not understand until they actually sit down and look at what you have put in front of them. So it's a good thing to be that guy for somebody else, because you don't understand that a lot of folks that read stuff, they literally are taking all their knowledge from what you're giving them. Yeah. Like, they're not doing their own research. They're not doing their own independent stuff. So whatever you put out, that's what they're going to believe. And they take it at face value too. So it's important to have that focus, because, you never know who's going to pick up your thing and read it. And you want someone that doesn't know you from a can of paint to be able to read what you wrote and come away with it learning something.
Yeah, that's deep. And I think that's what I love the most about writing. Yeah. Is that it can be so personable to you. People can understand and learn more about who you are based upon how you write. And which leads me to the next question. What type of writing, I mean, I know the answer, but for the viewers, what is your writing style?
People have told me it's very descriptive. Like, I put a lot of emphasis on the lead. I want to make sure that you feel like you're in that space. Yeah. So it may take me a long time to figure out what my lead actually is, because I pay attention to everything. Like, for example, the last place I was at was Fresno for Jalen Green's pro-am thing, and I was just watching the way that the children and the kids were just bombarding him. Like, this is a place that he's home in Fresno. Even though in the NBA he's like a small fish in a big pond, when you come back to Fresno, you're like the king of Fresno, because this is where you're from. Everyone knows you there. You were raised here, and now you're this big NBA star. So just seeing how people interact with you, that's kind of what I focus on in terms of getting that lead down, because that can help you with the rest of your story. For me personally, it helps me. Knowing that I have the lead down is what draws a reader in. And what gets them to stay. Then you can give them the meat and the potatoes on all that stuff. But you have to make sure that you have a huge drawing in point to get somebody to read.
You gotta draw them in. I don't know why that song came to my mind. T.I., bring them out, bring them out, bring them out. I don't know why that came to my mind, but that's so deep. Yeah. And I feel like when you read something that's so descriptive, it just makes you like want to read more and gets excited for the next time you drop. Yeah. Ooh, that is powerful. Has there ever been a least favorite article? That you were just like, this not it, but let me just put it out.
Yeah.
Just put it out.
That's happened before. I was asked to write something about, what was it? One of the Rockets players, the last game of the season, they gave out, he intentionally missed the free throw so the fans could get free Chick-fil-A or whatever.
I'm about to say, you saw my face? I said, wait a minute.
So he did it to give because it was the last day of the season, and they asked me to write about it, and I was on the plane. I was on the plane home. So typically I hate writing on planes because the Wi-Fi is always shitty. It's not, I can't get in my zone. I can't read. It's not my personal space. Right. But I did it on my phone. I didn't like it at all. I hated it, actually. It felt like I rushed it because I gave it to them. It sounded like they needed it in a pretty quick manner, like a 30-minute window or something like that. I did it. I didn't like it. I didn't love it, but I had to get it done. So sometimes there are things that you do that you may not particularly enjoy, and that's fine. It comes with the territory. As long as the majority of what you're doing you are proud of, and you can put that on your mantle, I think you're entitled to a miss every now and then. You know, we're all humans at the end of the day. We can't be perfect. So everything you're right, it's not always going to be a banger. But as far as you understand what the job is, because sometimes the job doesn't require meat and potatoes. They don't want all the fluff all the time. So it just depends on where you work and what their job requirements are asking.
That makes a lot of sense, and I'm happy that you helped me see it from that perspective too. Like you say, we're always not going to have a banger, but we still got to get the job done. Out of all of the platforms that you've written for, which one
my favorite
is your favorite? But I also want to just flip the coin too and say which one is your least favorite. But if you're going to get in trouble, don't answer it.
My favorite has to be my current job, The Athletic in New York Times. They've given me so much freedom to express myself, and they've been supportive of my growth as a writer, because I came into this business with a relatively small amount of experience, right? And that typically doesn't happen where you need 6 to 8 years of prior, job experience. But these guys have they've put me in this position to be successful, and they've put me in a position to grow, and they haven't try to hold me back. So I really appreciate that. Now, my least favorite place I worked, I gotta think. I didn't really like USA Today, but I understood why I was there, because they're very cut and dry, very formulaic, very newspapery. Like you want X, Y, and Z at A, B, and C times. So as far as expressive writing, they weren't the greatest, but they were still an important stepping stone, because I was working for them when I got the shout out about the news break. So it's pros and cons to everything. So, although some place that you're working at might not be the greatest fit for you, it doesn't mean that you can't make it work somehow. You just have to tweak your expectations and tweak your approach to everything.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. Now, I got to ask. The ecosystem.
Yeah.
Give us the deets. Give us the deets. Give us the deets.
Yeah. So right now, as you know, with the whole creative process, sometimes you want to revamp, you want to remodel, you want to, come back in a stronger and better way. So, that's what I'm doing right now. We have something coming out before the start of next season. I think that's the target. And it's being tweaked. So before it was just me, but now I'm going to be working with Gerald Green and Dan House and bringing the show to just for Houston. It seems like when you look at the media landscape, there's a lot of shows with NBA players and stuff like that in all these other regions. But for Houston, there isn't anything to really tell our story, our culture. And I couldn't think of any two better people to do it than Gerald Green and Daniel House. Like, those to me are the unofficial mayors of Houston. So just talk about rap culture, fashion, food culture, like everything in the city, basketball culture. Like, that's what I think is important to bring to the media landscape. So we have that in the wraps and in the works right now, and that's what's coming, like, maybe in a month or so.
Ooh, I'm excited. I can't wait. I know you're going to have some powerful gems on there.
Because those guys are crazy as hell. So you already know. You already know. So those are my guys, man. Those are my guys.
And what better way to do it? With people that you have great synergy with. Y'all know each other.
That's very underrated. That's very underrated.
Look, don't get me already started now. Ooh, yes. Wow. What advice would you give a writer who's looking to break into the sports industry or any industry when it comes to being a writer?
Be different. I think, especially for Black people trying to get into the industry, they already don't want to bring you in. So you have to almost force their hand. And you have to do that by stepping outside the norm. Like, when you take on projects that people don't want, there's still an audience for that. Sometimes people give you projects to see how you adapt under pressure.
Facts.
Even though they know you might not particularly want that role or job. So for people trying to break in, it also requires prayer. You need to pray.
Come on.
You need to pray because you do need God in everything you're trying to do.
Amen.
But it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of luck. It's a little bit of timing. It's a little bit of prayer. It's just skill. Like, you just have to keep working. And I know it sounds mundane because some people are, I'm sure they've been working for a while trying to get in, but you just have to. And you also have to know people too. That's another thing. You have to step outside your comfort zone and get to know people, get to extend those relationships, because you'd be surprised at who can help you at any point given time. So just doing things that you might not be comfortable doing in terms of like talking to somebody new, you know, going to a mixer, joining an organization for journalism. You know, there are plenty of people out there that want to help people get roles and jobs, because there are jobs every day. I know the job market is kind of tough right now, but there are still roles to be had if you look in the right spots. So just be able to have those relationships is pretty important.
Did y'all hear the gems? Okay, if you taking notes, take notes, okay? Because I need to take notes myself. Let me get it together. So we're going to take a quick transition to just something fun that I wanted to incorporate within every episode, which is a game called Underrated or Overrated.
All right.
And it's where I toss out just random categories, and you have to let me know if it's underrated or overrated within a matter of 7 seconds.
All right.
If I start talking and going off on a tangent, just remind me of the 7 seconds. The first one is sports betting.
Underrated.
Why?
It's underrated because everybody is doing it, and it's so applicable to any level of person's society, even though it's supposed to be an adult-only thing, but it's become like the whole thing with Prize Picks and how you see Drewski. Like, it's such a thing for not just adults but for kids as well. Like, I think in the next 10 years, sports betting is going to play a huge role in society, and people don't understand how impactful that's going to be as of right now.
Facts, and I agree. And I've literally just heard some cases of people, they've been rolling in dough from the sports, but I'm like, where do I sign up? Please, I don't know. Even though out here we ain't even gonna say what the laws are. But
I can't bet though, but you know, I see it, but it's
cha-ching, cha-ching. Okay, the second one is Red Bull.
Like the drink?
The drink.
Overrated. Red Bull's never been good. It just tastes like stress when you drink it.
Ooh.
Like, it's fizzy. It's not it's successful though, but as a taste, if you actually just sit down and drink it, it's overrated as hell.
I had to ask that because I noticed like whenever I'm at sports games or just so many different other elements, they always have it in their hands. So I'm like, I had it one time maybe as a mixer for some other beverage.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I don't know.
No, it's a no. That's overrated.
Okay. Digital books.
Underrated.
Underrated?
People are lazy. So they don't like, you don't like to hold things no more. You be on the plane, the ebook, the Kindle, all that stuff. I think it's very underrated because it's actually really helpful. Like if you're like a slow reader and you don't like to turn pages or use like bookmarks and fold pages, an e-reader is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Pretty damn good.
It is. Yeah, that's powerful. I agree. And then the last one, tunnel fits.
Tunnel fits. Those are overrated. Tunnel fits are super overrated. People have developed an entire culture about what someone's tunnel fit is, and you're literally going to wear it for like 20 minutes.
If that.
Like, it's so overrated. I get it why people love it, but to me, all the cameras following all that, it's cool because, you know, when people put that stuff on, it's cool. But at the end of the day, you got a job to do. So if you come in wearing a mirror down and you shoot 2 for 12 from the field, I don't think anybody cares what you was wearing that day before the game. So I think it's overrated.
That's so funny.
But I know you guys, you know, your background with you and Van, the fashion week. I understand. I've just never been that person.
You know, it's so funny because I had no idea about the whole realm of tunnel fits until I was, of course, like when I was working with Fashion League Styles, and I was like, dang, and I was like you said, they created a whole culture.
So it actually might be
this.
underrated. I mean,
I
get the appeal. Me personally, I've never been that person, but I get the appeal.
We just care about the buckets.
Yeah.
We care about the buckets. Ooh, wow. That's powerful. That's powerful. So, see, you did good for the game. Look, it was straight to the point. You gave the people what they wanted. Yes. Oh, wow. Is there anything coming up? I know you mentioned the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you have coming up that you want to let us know? Any projects? Anything that you're writing?
Yeah.
What can we be looking out for?
Before the season starts, like I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I'm working on this big Jalen Green profile.
Love.
Before the season starts, it just feels like he's entering into this new space of like fatherhood and just trying to like contract year and trying to, satisfy all these demands from everywhere. So I spent some time with him in California.
Love that.
And really got to know him on a personable level. So I have that coming out. Obviously stuff with San Antonio, Memphis. Just the NBA really, to me, it's such an underrated league because obviously the Olympics came and went, but I think just seeing the USA win the gold, it kind of reaffirmed why the NBA is important.
Yeah.
Right? I know we saw what Noah Lyles said about they're not whatever, but
crazy.
I think that the NBA on its own is a powerhouse, and I think that there's so many layers to it that we haven't even touched yet. So I think that this season, that's what I'm trying to get to in terms of trying to get to those parts that haven't been discovered yet. So that's what I'm doing.
Ooh, I'm excited. I can't wait. I always, when I read something that you've constructed, I always just grab a lot from it. So that's powerful. Please let everybody know where they can connect with you, how to lock in, and just find out more information about you right into that camera.
You can follow me on Twitter, Kelly Eco. That's KELLYIKO on Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to The Athletic. We got a great sale going on right now. Subscribe to the ecosystem. We got some stuff coming in the works, and just stay tuned.
Y'all heard him. Stay tuned. It's been another episode for From the Script. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Fire, man. Absolutely. For all my viewers, please be sure to stream From the Script on all platforms that are listed below. And remember to be bold, don't fold, and come to the fire as gold. We out.
Well, that's fire.
Like that.